Done by Noon podcast, episode number 23. Today we're going to talk about who truly leads you.
You're listening to the Done by Noon podcast, a podcast for entrepreneurs who want to achieve more by noon than others in a full day. Serial entrepreneur Dave Ruel and his co-host Chris Lopez share the strategies that will help you optimize your productivity, performance, and lifestyle so you can reach new heights in your business and life. So if you're ready to become the most efficient and effective entrepreneur you know, you're in the right place. Welcome to the show.
This episode is brought to you by the Epic Planner, the first planner made for the entrepreneurial brain. It's easy to fill your day with busy work. You feel like you're getting a lot done. But if you don't make time for bigger projects, you're just spinning your wheels and hurting your business. The Epic Planner is backed by a complete system to strategically plan your next 90 days. Break down projects into actionable bite-sized pieces. Optimize your work week and implement sustainable performance habits in the process. To learn more about the Epic Planner, go to www.effic.co. That's EFFIC.co. And use coupon code PODCAST at checkout to receive 10% off your order. Now, back to Dave and Chris.
We're back.
We're back.
We're here.
What's happening?
Good, man. I'm good.
I can hear the patty man outside of my office.
What is it?
There's a guy that sells Caribbean patties. You know, the meat patties. They're like empanadas.
Yes. Yes, of course.
So he's
How do
got
you
a
call
very
that, Patty?
he's got a very distinct voice, and he always rides around on his bike.
What was the thing that the Trinidad things that like it's like chickpeas? It's like a chickpea sandwich. The Trini doubles. That's what
Doubles.
Adam. Oh yes, those are great, man. Adam Steer used to love eating that. I remember
My best friend growing up was from Trinidad. I grew up on doubles. I would go to his house after school almost every day because his mom made doubles. And it wasn't even a special. They just had doubles on, like, in the freezer or whatever. And so for an after-school snack, we would go over there and, I grew up on that stuff.
I mean, for a vegan thing, man.
Yeah.
No, it's not true because, I mean, in my opinion, vegan desserts are the best.
They are.
They're 1 million calories a pop, but
Yeah, I'll agree with you. They're laced with sugar and coconut and all this stuff that is like, it's so calorically dense.
yeah.
So yeah, you can't have too much of
Avocado.
it, but it's so good. Yeah, avocado. Oh yeah.
It's that's the thing. It's so because it's a lot. It's fat based. Most of it is like there's a lot of fat, and so that's why it's very caloric. But fuck, they're so good compared to any sugary things. I mean, and I'm a sugary, like, you know me, Chris. I love my sugar, right? And I think vegan desserts are just the best.
Yeah. No, I'll agree with you there. I really enjoy vegan desserts.
Man, I wanted to talk about leadership, and I asked a question today: who truly leads you? Because as I'm recording this, like, we're just a few days after the insurrection on the American Capitol building.
Oh man,
And anyways,
the coup.
I mean, whatever I call it a shit show. I call it a shit show because, like, the whole thing is a massive shit show, and I don't even know how to call that. And it brought back like the ideas of like leadership on multiple levels, right? And I posted a photo on my Facebook, and I said the picture is worth 1,000 words, and it's these 3 yahoos, the guy with the horns. What's his name again? Like the Q shaman. That's how it was. The Q shaman. That's his like name, right? But you could see the guy. It's like a photo op for him, right? It's just like he wants a massive amount of attention.
Right. There's your 15 seconds, buddy. Congratulations.
No, but it looks like he's actually an influencer, an influencing figure in the QAnon thing, like movement. And I'm like, is that really what like the lead, like they're leading people? So I'm like, what kind of like like who follows these guys, and also what makes you follow these people, right? That I'm thinking about that. It's like what makes these people leaders, because they're clearly leaders, not maybe the right ones or the one that the world needs, but they are leaders of their own crowd per se. I'm like, this is kind of crazy. I'm thinking, if these are leaders of people of a certain part of the population, what type of leaders are we going to need in the world in order to compensate for this bullshit?
Right.
And man, it's like, and there's people that I know, like entrepreneurs, like guys who are supposedly like they're smart guys. They're supposed they are smart guys, but they are totally like into all this shit. I can't believe that.
I'm speechless. Like you and I were talking beforehand. When I heard the news, because I had no idea what was going on. Like we don't have a lot of it's rare that I have access to internet here in Costa Rica, and I choose to insulate myself specifically as well. So I don't know what's going on. And so when I heard the news that the Capitol building was getting stormed and that it was getting ransacked, my immediate thought was terrorists.
Yeah.
And so when I went,
because it happened in Canada.
yeah,
It is. Like, I mean, it did happen in Canada.
that's right.
Like,
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I have Bibo who showed up at the parliament with a rifle. He actually killed him like an army guy, right?
Yeah.
And actually, he was shot by Kevin Vickers, who actually he became the party, the Liberals party leader in New Brunswick, and like lost the election and then got removed, but he got killed by that guy. But the guy was intending to kill people, like entering, and it's easy to enter into parliament. I don't know. Have you been to Ottawa?
I have been to Ottawa. Yeah.
Yeah. So you could enter the parliament, no problem. I mean, it's. I think it's changed now, but before that, I lived there for a few years with Karen, and we just could go in front of the parliament and chill and enter the parliament if you wanted to.
Yeah. Well, that's Canadian policy. Remember that Michael Myers movie where he was in Sarnia and then he was in Detroit or he was in Windsor and he was in Detroit, and they're just separated by like a common border. And you go to Windsor, which is the southernmost town or southernmost city in Canada. And well, if you go to Detroit, doors are locked, everything's boarded up. There's bars on the stores and everything. And you just cross the border literally, 400 meters away, and people's doors are open, they're unlocked, and it's just a big contrast. But anyway,
it is, but less and less now.
Yeah,
I think less and less now. But anyway, yeah. So sorry. So I felt the same. I thought it was terrorists at first.
But this is the thing. I mean, they're calling themselves protesters. I mean, we don't have to go deep down the rabbit hole or talk about this too much. But they're calling themselves protesters, and so when I think of a protester, I think of like people fighting injustices. But this isn't that, like, because protesters more often than not end up being completely peaceful. There's always a police presence, and sometimes it'll get escalated, but never to the point where there's this act of violence or this act of complete looting and the people are storming the Capitol building. So when I see what's happened, like when I heard about what was happening, I didn't know who was doing it. I automatically thought terrorists. But in the end, that's what I think these people are. Like, this is an act of terrorism. It's an act of terrorism within like their local terrorists, but nonetheless, like, you can't do that in this day and age, man.
That's insane, man.
I'm so confused.
But the problem is that it's the country. I mean, for our listeners, I mean, if you're in America or if you're American or Canadian, and I just want you to realize where we're coming from with it, because for us, like for me, Canada, like the US, it's our sort of southern neighbors, but it's not our country, right? But I see so many people like very much deep down into it. I don't like to use the word conspiracy theory. It's not like I don't consider people like that, but they are stuck into a narrative that is very like weird. Like because it's a ramification of a lot of things. They do the research online, but I mean, let's be honest. Acknowledge that no one knows a fucking thing. You know, you and I don't know shit, Chris, about like anything really. Like no one knows the truth. You just assume that's the truth, or this is like the way the events are. And but I get a kick out of people who think that everything is finely orchestrated in the back, and like that, and it's seamless. Like nothing is like, it's very seamless and no one fucks up, right? Because the whole narrative is like it works, right? Dude, I live in a small town of 6,000 people, and the fucking city council has a hard time agreeing on 90% of the things. Imagine that on a global scale. Let's be honest, man. I mean, people overestimate the capacity of humans to actually get along and orchestrate things together. It just doesn't make sense.
Well, we could tie this into so many different things, and I think one of the main things is like the controlling of information, right?
Mhm.
Like, for example, before we got on here, we were talking about the whole QAnon thing. Now, if you search that on YouTube or on Google or whatever, they're like, just the sole fact that you search that and it's attached to your profile, they're going to show you more of that, and they're going to try to polarize you. And so if you search it and you consistently get fed it by these channels, eventually over some time, that's what you're going to end up believing if you don't have a good filter. And so that's what I think is happening here, is that the controlling of information and what you see plays such a critical factor here. I mean, we can tie this into business eventually, but like, I mean, this is the whole point of like targeted ads and understanding specific demographics and psychographics. But it's on such a bigger scale, because now we're talking about politics. Now we're talking about government. We're talking about policy. We're talking about, everything that has to do with our social structure.
But it has to, like, I get a kick out of people saying, yeah, like the media is controlling the way we think. It's like, you haven't discovered anything new. I mean, the media will, like, anything, like any output of information is based to influence in some ways, or is based to like portray a certain, I would say, version of the truth. You know what I mean? Even like, unless you do very deep, profound journalism,
Yeah.
like it's always going to be biased somehow, or it's going to be like not necessarily the absolute fucking truth of everything, right? So, but it's the same thing that you blame the traditional media, but then you go to another media, which is either YouTube, which is a message board, which is actually social media, which is a media, believe it or not, and you're going to believe that, and you'd say, "Oh, I did my research." No, no, you did not do your research. You got influenced. You got led by other leaders who have a different agenda. You know what I mean? And that's the thing that people need to realize, is that there's no right or wrong, or, well, there's right or wrong, but there's, I mean, you need to understand that no one knows. You know what I mean? You got to take everything, like, look back and stop trying to rationalize everything that is being put in front of you. You know, it's that's the thing now. I think, like, now we always, like, it's so bad we have to fact check things,
Everything.
so
Yeah.
make your own perception of it in someone. What's your gut feeling when you look at it? Like, remove every single media that you could be exposed to, or remove any opinion about it. What does it fucking look like from outside? Let's say I don't know anything about it, and I look at the picture of the three yahoos who got into I got the photo that that got into the Capitol building. You're like my first honest, like, reaction is, the fuck is this shit?
Yeah, I thought it was.
You know what I mean? And then from there, you can make a storyline, or you can listen to all the storylines, right? But first of all, you got to realize that, like, this is not normal. You know what I mean? This doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's just, in our last podcast, we were talking about core values and using those to guide our ideas and our decision making. That's what I think a lot of people need with this stuff, is just like determining or having a set of core values, so that they're not led by the media, so that they're not led by the entertainment or the things that people see. You know what I mean? Like, that is That I think that's the problem with the way things are right now, is that everybody is being blindlessly, or they're following blindly because they don't have a specific compass to follow. They don't have an inner compass or something that's telling them what's right and what's wrong.
But that's the thing, that becomes dangerous if you don't have that. See, we're bringing it back to self leadership again. But if you don't have that for yourself, if you don't have the proper self leadership, this is how you're going to make bad fucking decisions. This is how you're going to be fooled by different people. And I'm not saying, I'm not pro Biden or pro Trump. I honestly, I'm not I'm not a fan of Donald Trump at all from a human perspective, but politically, I mean, I don't really care about it in some ways. I'm just a fan of decency. I'm a fan of, being a good, decent human being who does good in the world, right?
Right.
And I think just that should be your compass for if it's right or if it's wrong, right? Regardless of political thing, regardless of whatever you can think happens, it's like on a human level, does that make any fucking sense? Yeah. And yeah, man, it's just, I'm baffled sometimes, and I look at comments on it, and it clearly polarizes people, right? And I try to stay not neutral, but because obviously, I have my opinion on it, so I'm going to obviously say my opinion, but I don't go deep into it. But I offer a perspective for people to talk, and I can see there's no question. It's either right or wrong. There's no more in between. There's no more deeper conversation about the things that are happening. There's no more critical. There's less and less critical thinking, even though people think they're critical thinker and that they're free thinkers. They're not. When you adhere to a narrative that is not yours, that you've made that you patch between this and that, you're not a critical thinker. You're not a free thinker. You are led by other people. You are led by other thoughts and not yours. Right. And it's until you really understand that, and that you are confident in your self-leadership skills, I mean, it's going to be, it's going to take a lot of good leaders in the world to compensate for that. That's all I can say. It's going to take a lot of new type of critical, decisive leaders. I look at Barack Obama, for example, and you don't have to agree with his politics or whatever. It doesn't matter. But you look at the way he portrays himself in the world.
Yep.
As a dad, as a father, as a citizen, right? I love his description. And also the way he conveys his message. Is that good leadership?
Of course.
In my opinion, this is great fucking leadership.
Yeah.
You don't have to agree with the guy. You don't have to agree with his decisions, but from a leadership perspective, does that guy, can you trust a person like that? Is this person is going to move the population forward? And you look at a guy like Donald Trump, and all of a sudden you have guys with horns raiding the park. Ask yourself these things, right? I don't know. If you think that's right, we have a different definition of normalcy, of what is acceptable or not in society.
But I guess from an individual standpoint, it all depends on the audience, right? Trump has polarized. He's attracted a certain type of audience based on the way he leads, based on the way he makes decisions, based on the way he conducts himself. He's attracted a certain population of people. Not necessarily people that I would associate with in everyday life, and then you take a look at Obama, and Obama, because of the way he is, policies aside, same with Trump, policies aside.
Don't talk about politics. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just look at the two of them and look at the contrast and the personalities and the way they conduct themselves. And you can see the difference in the type of people that they attract. And so that's why seeing what I'm seeing right now and what's going on in the US is completely, I don't want to say it doesn't surprise me, but at the same time, I don't know. I'm just completely off put. I'm off put, but I think that's a reflection of the leadership and the type of people that were attracted by that particular party that influenced them to do that.
I think that, like, and there's a lot of lessons, like, even on for example, on influence from Donald Trump. He's
Hmm.
the ultimate influencer. He's
Oh,
playing the game of influence better than anyone ever, was able to lead to play this game before.
yep.
It's really, 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 like, there's big lessons. And honestly, like, I admire him for that. I was like, holy smokes! Like, the guy, he knows exactly what he's doing. People think, oh, he's like, he's a crazy man. He's not.
No, he
He's
knew exactly what he was
he
doing.
knows exactly what he's doing. He knows exactly how to influence people.
Yeah,
Like
there were
any,
lessons there. There were lessons there. Every time he spoke, every time he got up there, every time he said something, there were lessons there for those of you that wanted to use these powers for good. There were specific lessons in the way he did things, the way he conducted things, the way he communicated.
it's insane. Like, it's really is a skill that he has. That, and he could have used that. Like, honestly, if you could blend Barack Obama's leadership and I would say human focused leadership with the power of influence of Donald Trump, bro, I mean, you would have a super president right there.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing, right? And that shows, like, the power of that. Like, really, like, now we have to go and define leadership. It's like, okay, well, both, like, there's different styles of leadership, but what does great leadership looks like in the end? What does great leadership, what's the ultimate outcome of great leadership beyond the fact of influencing people, or being a thought leader? Because you can be a thought leader, you can be an influencer or a thought leader, but ultimately, what is the outcome, the desired outcome?
Yeah.
you know and I don't know, like, I feel like if you're not moving things, the humanity forward, like, even if it's at your own little level,
Uh huh.
like, like, why, like, what's the purpose of leadership?
Yeah. I. Yeah. I. I'm sorry. I'm just thinking about what's going on right now, and I still don't get it. But
Yeah, no, it's baffling, man. And I think, beyond the fact of defining what really leadership is, I think you should, as humans and individuals, look into your own shit first before thinking about that, or making a sense out of everything, making a sense of what's going on, making a sense of what's right or what's wrong. Look at your own shit. Look at yourself. Become the best self leader that you can be, and positively, influence others.
well, I
From
think
there,
this is why everybody needs to develop or study philosophy. I think people need to develop their own personal philosophy, and then I think you can use that to guide you. Otherwise, you get misled by following the mass media, and your decision making is based on what they're telling you instead of you having a specific type of moral code or a personal philosophy that will guide you with your decision making.
yeah, it's. I mean, it's good. It's going to be a journey. I think it's a wake up call. I think I think things are changing, but are changing permanently. And I think we're going to have, like, a society so divided that great leaders will need to double down. They will need to stand up, but in a confrontational way. Trying to just pull like everybody to on your side. It's like trying to resonate with an alcoholic. Until people want to help themselves, you're not going to be able to do much.
Right.
So that's why it's really, really important, I think, right now, to double down on your own self-care, double down on your own self-awareness, double down on your own self-respect, self-discovery. And from there, understand that you have the power to lead, even if it's one person or two people, positively. If it's your wife and your kids,
Mm-hmm.
being a good family leader, you're starting something. And I think, like, collectively, if we learn to not look into all the bullshit that's going on and create better frameworks for ourselves and surround. I would say not necessarily surround. You got to be careful with surrounding. I'm a big fan of community, but not into very strict, community guidelines. I think I want people to have a lot more free thinking and free debate. And the problem in that is now is that people don't debate anymore. It's like it's very one sided.
Yeah.
Like people just have their ideas on one thing, on the other thing, and debate. Even though you can debate or have the illusion of debate, you're not debating. A real debate, like I love being wrong. I don't know about you, Chris, but I love being wrong. I love debating about something and realize that shit, you are right.
Yeah.
But you got to come in with a state of mind that allows you to do it.
Well, we talk about this all the time, the beginner's mind, right? Like always seeing things with fresh eyes and being open to different opinions. You don't have to agree with the opinions, but you need to be open to them because you might learn something. And that's what the beginner's mind is all about. And I think everybody, when we all come into situations with preconceived ideas and preconceived arguments or things that, like you can tell. Have you ever been in an argument with somebody where you're trying to explain something to them and they're not listening to you anymore? They're just already thinking about what they're going to say.
Yeah.
That's what I feel is like what's going on right now with the world. It's like they don't want to listen to my opinion. I already know what I'm going to say, and I'm waiting to get back at you and retort everything that you're saying. But if you just listen with like open ears and a beginner mind, you might learn something.
And you don't need, like, that's the thing. You don't need a completely crystallized, set in stone, no narrative or way of thinking in order to be a good leader. I think you need to embrace the fact that you don't know shit. Remove, I think when you get, that's the thing. Instead of having opinions, try to have values.
Right.
Okay. Instead of having an opinion about things, that's what it is. Look at your core values. Look at your values that you have. And sometimes opinions is what they are, but I think if you think from a perspective of values that you want to convey, I think this is when you can lead yourself, better. But again, I'm talking from my own perspective. The guy with the horns is probably thinking that he sees that from a completely different perspective too, right? I don't think it's a matter of opinion. I think it's a matter of perspective. And I think the person who can show, I think if you're smart enough to look at at every single perspective that is offered in front of you,
yeah,
and make your own mind without being detrimental to other people, I think you win. Because and it doesn't matter if you are right or you're wrong, or if it's not it's like being really open to it and not one-sided.
Very nice. Couldn't agree with you, man.
Yeah, man. Bottom line, who truly leads you? You lead yourself, man.
Yeah.
You are your own leader. And if you are influenced by some kind of guy with a fur hat with horns, you need to reconsider. No, but I'm serious. I mean, it's like even with politics, the political system, you can fight it as much as you want. It's how much you are influenced by it.
Right.
If you were I worked a little bit in politics, local politics, and as an advisor, but always I try to be as neutral as possible and as open as possible. And it's not easy in politics because it's a same thing. It's a game of influence, of right and wrong, and the liberals are right and the conservatives are wrong, and blah blah blah. It's like it doesn't matter. You make your own view of things.
Right.
You got to make your own influence. I think that's why I never adhered to any particular party, because it's just too simple. That's simple, but it's doesn't allow flexibility.
No, it doesn't. And you might agree with some things for one party and agree with things for another party.
But the reality is that this is what it is. You know what I mean? You're not going to change the political system in just like that. There needs to be, real change that happened, but in the right, from the inside, not from the outside. Yep. I think you need to, if you want to do something, a change, stop rioting and start learning how politics work. Learn how politics work, how to be how it works, and from the inside, give you 110% to make the machine evolve, but realize that you're not going to change it overnight. That's what you want to do. Bring your best self to the table. You know what I mean? And yeah, man. So the bottom line, the main message that I want to leave you guys with is, again, lead yourself first. Be a good self leader. Okay. So if you are torn right now between this and that and the situation, you don't know what to think, you don't have to think about this thing in particular. What you have to think is how you can be a best, I hate to use that, the best version of yourself, but how can you be on a quest to always become better for yourself and your immediate surroundings? Okay. Lead from home. Yeah. Don't try to change things. Like, you're not going to change anything if you haven't changed or evolved or on the path of self-leadership. That's my point.
Good advice.
All right, brother. I'm gonna keep following that. I mean, I find it interesting, more from a human perspective, like on human psychology perspective. It's fascinating, but it could be depressing as well. So
it could be. I think it's okay if to follow this stuff, and you can be entertained by it as well. But like we said before, but you have to be a self leader. You have to have your own compass. You have to know how to make the right decisions and not get caught up too much into the rabbit hole of going deeper into this stuff, because otherwise it'll just consume you. And I can't believe what's going on right now.
Yeah, man, it's I know that's the one thing I think everybody needs to look at it and be like, okay, whoa, what the fuck is going on right now? It's just, I think it's too difficult to rationalize right now. I think we're going to need to wait and see. But bottom line, we're going to need one thing for sure. Great leaders will need to stand up.
Yeah.
Soon.
Good stuff, brother.
All right, my man. Have a great week. Have a great week, everybody. Be good self-leaders, and we'll talk to you next week. Cheers.
You have just listened to the Done by Noon podcast. If you are interested in hearing more, do not hesitate to subscribe to our channel. Click on the 5 stars or check out our free tools and trainings at donebynoonpodcast.com. Thanks again for listening, and stay awesome. We'll see you next time.